Okay, is this working? My stream working or no? Oh, excellent connection.
Can let me know when we're good
We're
to go.
good. I think we're good to go. Yeah, we're
Okay.
good. Can everyone, yeah, let's do it.
Record everything. Test.
Oh, yeah, okay,
All right, guys. You're good, right? We're
we're
good.
good. Go ahead.
Okay. Guys, this is Jonathan from the Owls Investment Group. You guys know me as Elkan, that's my last name. And we're gonna take two topics today. First is going to be these purple lines here. These are called APPs, which is alternative price projection. View this using Fibonacci tool on Thinkorswim. Then we're just gonna have an example of what time frames to use when you're breaking down levels and trading. So I show you those as long. So the first thing you see here is this line here. So I grab, let me do it this way. So I'm getting 3 points here. That's how I get this level. By the way, it's just to figure a resistance. So when it's in an all-time high or it's extended, you have nothing to look at, you can do it here. And I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna do some of them later, and I'm going to do a cluster that is when they overlap. So you have, instead of one, you have two overlapping, which gives you a little more confirmation. And this is your reference. You're gonna have this as a reference. Like for example, Fastly, you guys see how stop right here? So that could be a profit taking. And above this, it could be an entry. So first we need 3 points, which this one would be point A. We got point B and point C. So these are the 3 prices that we're doing. And the chart that we're using that I recommend you guys to use, it's 1 hour and 20 days. And you guys can switch that as long as you get the right levels. And we're gonna go through that while we do the class. But so far we're using the 1 hour, 20 days. That's my favorite chart. That one and the 10 days, 30 minutes are my favorite chart to break key levels. And then I trade them with the 5 days and 5 minutes when I'm scalping. If I'm doing anything else, I put a longer time frame. So, okay, so we got point A, it's a low, lowest low. Then we got point B, it's a high, and point C is another low. So you can draw them anywhere as long as they match with this low or whatever low or high you're picking. So if you go low, high, and low, you're gonna get resistance levels. If you do high, low, and high, you're gonna get support levels. And again, this is great when you're looking something that is extended, especially all-time highs, or in a high position that you're like, I don't have any resistance. I don't know any profit taking spot. I don't know any entries for the upside. So that's what you use it for. How do you set it up? So on Thinkorswim, you can go on drawings, drawing tools, and it's gonna be called Fibonacci extensions. You guys see here? Then you can, for example, let's do another one here. Let's do this low, this high, and this low. A little more low. There you go. So we got a 109.41. Who knows, that could be a potential resistance for Fastly whenever we get there. And that's the other thing. Whenever you're doing this, you need to know what to expect on the trade. This and to scalp, it's not going to work because you're going to have an entry at 100.8 and your next profit taking is at 109.41. We're going to get to that there. We're going to use different time frames for different trades. So as far as setup on Thinkorswim, you go edit properties, These are all Fibonacci radius. So you see here, these are all the retracements and these are all the extensions. You only need the 1 and the 1.618. That's all you need for these ones. You don't need any of the retracements, and then you don't need the other extensions. Those are the two ratios you're gonna use. As you see, it's pretty simple to set it up. You can worry about here. You can show the price on the right. That's why it shows the price here. The coefficients, you don't need them, but them as a reference because I'm gonna go through there in a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you why I have these coefficients here, why I wanna see which ones are. This is just telling you your values here, your data points. So here, like the 1 and the 1.618, you get your color as you wish, the scale and the width. So this is my set. I can share a screenshot with you guys. Let's do a screenshot so you get this. And I put it on the chat. That way you guys have it here. Let's do it. So that's going to be your setup for this drawing tools. Again, you want the one that 3 data points for you. Perfect. Okay, you save it as default and you go. So the trick about this thing is something called a symmetry. So you're gonna have a distance from point A to point B. And this 100 here. So the distance from A to B will be equal as the distance from C and the 100 and the 1.0 projection. So let's do this. We do drawings and we go here. Let's do one from here, point A to point B. Get that. And we do duplicate drawing, trend line. You see that? So that's going to have a reference. And why is this important? Because when you're trying to look for a price, if you get it too extended, if the distance between A and B is too long, you have to know that that's going to be your next distance from C to the 100%. So you got to keep it at some point that you are going to use, that is going to be helpful. That's going to be how long do I want to be in this trade? Looking for a 4-month swing, yeah, half the distance, but you want it to actually test your level. You want your level to be useful for the trade. Let's see if we can get a cluster. That's the other thing I want to show you guys. We went through this. I think I might just do a whole thing different here.
Hey, Elkin.
Yes.
Hey, so the top of that second line that you just duplicated would actually be the top resistance that you'd be looking for, right?
That's going to be 100%, which in this point, you see it works as a resistance here, but you also have the 161.8.
Okay.
I just draw the yellow line so you see a symmetry between A and B is the same distance than C and the 1.0. So that's going to help you to know that when you're drawing them, you want that distance to be according to your trade, because there's no point, even if you're drawing them good. Like for example here, you see how extended got this, and like for me, this 109.41 is going to be useless for the next 2 days. I don't, or at least we hit the 109.41, which it could happen, but how likely is that to happen?
Okay.
So let's see what else we do here. Okay. So if I try to get a cluster, I can use this low here. Actually, let me get rid of this one for now. It's not that it's not valid. I just don't need it right now, and I don't want to have too much stuff and confuse you guys. So let's say I get this low here, and let's try to see if we get a cluster. Oh, so you guys see that? So it's a cluster here. So now we have two here. And we even have the confirmation that this was a resistance, because you see how it dropped. So now we have the two 161.8. We got the cluster of these two using actually five different data points, and we got the confirmation. So obviously the idea is doing it before this happened, and that's why I had this ratio here. And after that, what I do, once this level is confirmed, then I go here. I have my own line. I know it's confirmed. I know what is behind it. I know what I did to get this level. Remove text node, remove text node. So let's see, for example, the opposite. Let's say we're trying to find support. This one worked too. You see GME? Here we hit 100% and we found resistance here. Then the 161.8 also overlap. So let's start from zero. Let's have this a clean drawing. Where is it? Where is it? Clear drawing set. So let's say you want to see support level. Actually, we see a support. Okay. So you want a high 2.25, 20.25. You want a low and a high. So you can probably use this one here. You guys see that? It actually matches. So you can use that as a reference for support on GME. Again, distance from this point to this point is the same distance from here to here. So let's do Chewy, for example, Chewy. So for Chewy, I would do something, and you're gonna get this as you practice. You're gonna, for example, let's say the time frames. Let's go back to Fastly. Say, wow, the stock is so high. So let's see you're trying to find a closer resistance. You can do a, maybe a 5 days, 15 minutes. And when this is not good when it's that extended, because it's gonna be harder for you. But you can even do something like this. For a shorter time frame, if you're trying to scalp and find like a quick resistance, you go here. Now you get a more realistic level. Now you'll be like, okay, I have a cluster between my price at 100.8 and at 100.48. So maybe a safe entry is above 101, and we can expect, or at least try to test 102.21. That could be a profit taking spot. Now it's more realistic because we did it in a shorter distance and a shorter extension. So, if I do it from here to here to here, you don't even see it. You probably have to go way back. You see, you're gonna get the 113 here and the 123, which it actually worked in the past. You guys see here, it actually worked as resistance. Again, you did it way too extended, so it's not gonna work for you for that specific trade. You're gonna have to give it a lot of time. You can keep it, but you need to be aware that Fastly might don't hit 113.48 or 123.78 in a long time. Could be 2 weeks, could be a month, could be a year. So keep that in mind. So that's when you adjust your time frame. And when you see that they are so extended, you have to keep that in mind. Now loading. Can you guys hear me well? Well, my finger swing just lag. And why don't you start yours and I can do the time frames later? That way we don't have to.
Looks like Chewy's not done screwing you for the day.
I know. No, it's my finger swing. It's the whole thing is not working for me. Yeah, and you want to start doing yours and we'll do the time frames later?
Yeah.
That way we don't have to.
Yeah, I don't think.
You guys have any questions? Or actually, save your questions when my screen, because I be start my finger swing. So if you have questions, just write it down and you can either DM it to me if you have somewhere to go, or we can do it at the end of the session. But I want Kian to start doing it. That way we don't have to wait for think or swim and waste time.
Yeah. Let me share my screen. All right. Let me know if you guys can see my screen.
Looks good.
Looks good? Okay. So yeah, for me, for swing trading, I'm gonna make it like a little quick review on how I do it. And I know, and I mean, I don't know, with all the members here and the ones who are gonna watch, after the recording, but I just want to go, a quick review of, resistance supports, TTM squeeze, volume, moving averages, and why I pick certain contracts. So, for swing trading, I never look at a time frame below 4 hours. There will be times where I look at 1 hour just to see the price action and what is going on, just to see the candles, the buying, the selling pressure. But for the most part, it's a 4 hour, it's a weekly, a daily, and on. Because, and I'm going to get into that why. But, just for the basics, resistance and support. Resistance is like you have a ceiling, right? And it's like your head is hitting that ceiling multiple times, and once you get past that resistance, you're expecting to rise, right? You broke through the resistance, you broke through the ceiling. A support is like you're walking on thin ice, right? You kind of, you're walking, but the ice is getting thinner and thinner, and once you break that thin ice, you're falling, right? So the first thing I do is when I look at charts, is I look at, I set up my resistance supports. So right now, it's funny how I'm on Chewy, but let's just go to, let's just go to a stock that kind of doesn't. Let's just go to Walmart. So Walmart, right? So what we see here is that we have a high of 153. What was that? 66, right? So this is going to be the highest resistance because this is the high. So So people ask me, what do you guys think about Walmart? Well, let's check it out. You see how it rejects here? 153.66. It rejects here once, rejects here twice. So we know that this is a resistance. So 153.66 is a resistance. Okay. So, and right here on close, we see that Walmart's support is going to be around 147.02, give or take. Okay. So this is going to be our support. So what I want to see is that I know Walmart is going to be trading in this channel. Okay. And we know that Walmart doesn't move, a significant amount, right? So the support is going to be here, 147. The resistance is going to be here. Okay, so now we have a resistance support. This is our thin ice. This is the ceiling. Okay, so what I will do is, regardless, I'm only going to check, the 4 hour, right? The 4 hour might look a little different than, like a 15 minute, 5 minute, if you want to scalp it. But what I will do is, honestly, for me personally, is I will enter Walmart above 133, around 133.77. I want to go a little bit more than the all-time high to see if it can hold, right? Because sometimes what it can do, for example, here, this was the resistance, okay, right here. It broke, okay, and I know people will enter calls right here. They will ride it, thinking that it's gonna extend, but it couldn't hold, right? So this is gonna be the new support. And if you have an entry here, right, this is where you want to have your stop, because it could not hold here, and as you can see, it dropped off. Okay, so that's why I like to do. I like to have confirmation. There's a bounce right here, so it held here. Here's the support. Okay, rejects here, so it can't break through. It's just consolidating, which that's just Walmart. I mean, you can probably collect some premium here, but for me, it's really not worth it. It rejects again here, but it's still holding support. So I know that, let's say tomorrow, if Walmart holds here and everything else aligns where I'm going to be talking about, there will be a chance where I'll enter Walmart calls. Okay. Now, if it breaks support here, right, because there's a bounce here, there's a bounce here, and there's a bounce here. If it breaks support, maybe we can get in puts, but as you guys know, I don't really like to short stocks. So that's resistance supports, and it's with in a catch of your eye, right? So here is another resistance, right? It could be an old resistance, and it could be a new support, right? So rejects here actually, breaks, rises, right? And this is holding the support line, rises, tests support again. Okay, here's the resistance once again, breaks, and here we go again. So it's what you want to do is find common patterns, right? Where is it struggling the most? Where is it, where is it falling but holding, on the daily, on the 4 hour, and it becomes second nature. You just gotta start drawing and finding out these patterns, and once you get the hang of it, it becomes second nature. You just gotta find that trend. Bounce right here, bounce right here. So there's multiple, place where it gets rejected, and that's when it's your resistance. Now, once you got that in line, then we start looking at my favorite indicator, TTM squeeze. Okay, so basically the TTM squeeze, these red dots mean that the squeeze is on. Okay, now the squeeze is, so if I put in the chat, the squeeze is on, TTM squeeze for Walmart is on, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, let's say the squeeze is on, but there are yellow bars. Okay, a yellow bar means that the bearish trend is decreasing. So right here, so this is bearish, right? So this is bearish momentum. Okay, but once the yellow bars come through, that means the bearish trend is decreasing. Okay, with Walmart, it's actually kind of it's working pretty poorly, to be honest with you. But that's Walmart. I don't really trade Walmart. But for example, the yellow bars mean the bearish trend is decreasing. The TTM is still on, but it has not fired. When it turns into green dots, right? When the green dot turns on, the squeeze has fired, and depending on the color of the bar, so right here, a green bar, or I'm sorry, green dot, red bar means that there's a bearish momentum. Okay, so let's say if someone asks, hey, like, what do you think about Walmart calls? And I'm going to say, well, TTM has fired, but on the bearish side, you see these red bars popping up. And now we see, okay, there's a yellow bar. Maybe the bearish momentum, has changed, but it's only been one yellow bar, and that's not a good confirmation. I usually look for 3 yellow bars for a reversal. Now, light blue bars means bullish momentum is increasing, right? So right here, this is good. TTM has fired long. Light blue bars have shown up. Darker blue bars mean bullish momentum has decreased, but doesn't mean it's going to go, the stock is going to go down, right? And this is just one indicator that you're using, okay? So as you can see here, it's bullish the whole time. The whole time it's bullish, but now it's starting to lose momentum. You see two dark blue bars. That means it's starting to lose some momentum, and the squeeze is still on. Okay, so this TTM squeeze is a good indicator for the daily, for the 4-hour, and the weekly. Let's say you want to swing something, but you're on a 15-minute chart, and you're using a TTM squeeze on a 15-minute chart. Someone will say, hey, Tesla squeeze on the 15-minute. I'm going to swing this through. Okay, it has squeeze long on the 15-minute. That means I'm going to hold my position. Okay, but that TTM squeeze bar is only going to last you 15 minutes. You cannot use a TTM on a 15-minute chart, 5-minute chart, 30-minute chart. Now, with scalping, it could be different. I don't scalp, so I don't think Elkin uses TTM squeeze for scalping. It's not quick enough. But rule of thumb: never use a TTM for 15-minute, 30-minute, 1 hour, 5-minute, short time frames. Use it on the big time frames because those bars have to last at least a week on a weekly chart. You want to have those for a longer term because that means on these light blue bars on a daily, if that thing fires, that means that the stock is going to go long, right? So do not use it on a short time frame. Now, another thing that I have to confirm with is volume. This indicator, this volume indicator, this custom volume indicator that I'm showing right here is we have it pinned in the chat. I will message it. I'll put in the chat again. This is when I say, people ask, how's the volume of a certain stock, and I'll say, right now it's 70% buying, 30% selling. This is the indicator. It will show me, what the stock is doing, okay, and who's buying and who's selling. Is it more bullish or bearish? So right here, like let's say this candle right here is all buying. So this could be a good entry because there's a lot of buying coming in, okay? And this is on the 4-hour. Then I'll check on the daily, right? So there's an average of more buying than selling. But now let's say we see that, right? The volume could be low, and with low volume, they're premium killers, right? We don't want to play stocks with low volume, okay? So you see this yellow line? This is the average volume of the stock, okay? So ideally, when you enter a trade, when you have your key resistance supports, when you know your levels, you want to check your TTM, and you also want to check the volume. You want to have the volume above the average of how much volume the stock has. Okay, you never want to enter here. Obviously the stock can move, randomly, but I will never enter a position with this kind of low volume. Microsoft is, is very similar. Walmart, as you can see, has just been consolidating here, and as you can see, the volume has been kind of dead. And even TTM, there's a little bullish momentum, but not enough to get enough premium out of your contract. And that's why I never swing Walmart, unless you get really in the money plays. Now, the last thing I check, and these are the three things I always go through before going into a play. So you have your resistance supports on long time frames. You have TTM squeeze on long time frames. You have volume, okay? And now you have the moving averages. Okay, so basically a moving average is a stock's average price over a certain time period. Okay, so the time frames that I use for the moving averages is the 8, the 21, and 200. Okay, so the 8 moving average, when it crosses the 21 moving average, that means it's more likely to be a bullish, right? The 21 moving average crossing the 8 moving average means that's bearish, okay? The 200 can act like a support, okay? I use a 200 as a support line. Now, as you can see, Walmart is way above the 200 moving average. So if there's going to be a massive sell-off on Walmart, long term, I would have to see it, below the 200 moving average. But you could also use the 21 moving average as support, okay? But mainly, ideally, the 200 moving average is your support, like right here, okay? For example, Walmart is holding right above the 200 moving average. Now, if Walmart broke below the 200 moving average, you would expect more downside, but it's holding. But now you see how the 8 moving average has crossed the 21 moving average, activating that it's bullish, right? So you can use these as support and resistance as well, okay? The candlesticks are above the 8, okay? So we know it's bullish, it's holding above. As it breaks the 8, we're using now the 21 as a support, okay? This is a support, 21 is a support, right? And that's basically, what you use for the moving averages. Once the 8 crosses the 21, it's bullish. 21 crosses the 8, bearish. The 200 you use as a support. Okay, obviously right now there's a lot of stocks that are way above their 200 moving averages, but you should always have that on your chart. Now, when I pick contracts, how do I pick contracts? And we're going to get, our next class, we're going to discuss the Greeks more thoroughly. But let's go to, let's say Microsoft, because I know a lot of you really like Microsoft for some reason. If I'm looking at Microsoft and I want to go long, okay, let's just get these out of the way. And I want to swing Microsoft. As we all know, Microsoft doesn't move. Like, this is just, it's terrible. It's terrible to swing. You can, today we scalped it, for a pretty decent profit actually. I think it was like a 30% profit on that unofficial alert. But for the most part, how I pick contracts is I want to get as much delta as possible and as much time I can afford. Okay? Slower moving stocks, you have to put much more time. For example, AMD. Now, AMD today, we had a cut because, it didn't go our way. It's not moving, and the strike is getting further and further. But let's just go back to Microsoft. What I did with Microsoft is I got a December 18th, 207 call. Okay. We purchased this at, I think it was 840. The reason why I got a 207.5 call was, first of all, we had a resistance support. TTM fired long. Okay. The volume started to increase. Okay. So we knew that the volume was coming in. TTM fired long. And that we broke the levels that I had on my chart. But I didn't want to get, let's say a 220 call. Right? Because we know that Microsoft doesn't really move that much. So now, if you have a smaller account, that's the only choice you have, right? Because you can afford that premium. Okay? But let's just say you have a decent size account, you want to get the most delta as possible. The higher the delta, the more your contract is going to move. But the higher the delta, the more expensive your premium is. Okay? But for me, for example, I want to find the highest delta contract that I can afford. Okay? If I want to play AMD calls, most likely if AMD is at 92 and let's say I want to go, I want to go long, what I want to do is go to January 15th because I know AMD is a very slow mover and you have to catch those, the ride very early. I want to get, in the money, right? Because the delta is much higher. I don't want to, the 100, the reason why I got 100 was I was expecting a big move. And the reason why is because if I'm looking at the whole semiconductor industry, now I posted a watch list for everyone to have that shows all industries, technology industry, financials, and I have that on my other monitor. So I am looking at how the technology industry is doing. Okay, and it was very bullish. It was on fire. Nasdaq was, green. The Dow was, lagging. Okay, so I know Nasdaq was on fire, right? So that's why I wanted to pick 100 because I thought AMD and plus what this chart was showing me is that AMD was going to be very bullish. Okay, so I got 100 strike for a lot of time, and it was a cheaper premium, so more people can afford it. But again, with AMD, it was a false breakout, and this is a perfect example. Perfect example, right here. Around 94.42, AMD could not break it. It got rejected 1, 2, 3, 4. It got rejected 5 times. And I think someone asked me today, what do you guys think about AMD calls? I said, listen, I cut AMD, and to be honest with you, we can expect more of a downside. This is all rejection here. It cannot break it unless we see some big volume coming in. But this last candle, this bar is more selling. So this is going to be your new support, okay? Because this was the old resistance because it got rejected here, it got rejected here, and it got rejected here. Okay, so honestly, and it's holding right above the 8 moving average. Okay, so if it breaks below the 8 moving average, we could expect more downside, which I'm going to look at. I'm going to see, if AMD can't hold above here, it might not be a bad idea, to buy more shares here or putting some time on a contract and buying, maybe not out of the money calls, but a couple strikes out. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking at contracts, and you guys probably notice, they're mainly in the money plays, except Tesla, because Tesla will cost you, it's like college tuition for an in the money play. But you're trying to capture as much delta. The higher the delta, the more your contract is going to move, and theta is actually be lower because you're already at that strike. Okay, so in review, what we look at, support resistance on the daily, the 4-hour, the weekly. Then we look at a TTM. Now, red dot, what does red dot mean? The squeeze is on. What does the green dot mean? The squeeze has fired. What does the red bars mean? That there's more bearish momentum. The yellow bars means the bearish momentum is decreasing. The dark blue bars, the bullish momentum is decreasing. The light blue bars, bullish momentum is increasing. And the green dot, it has fired. Then, I don't know what happened to my volume study, but anyway, we look at the volume. If it's above average, that's when we'll know where the volume's coming. And then we look at the moving averages. Again, the 8 and 21, if the 8 crosses the 21, it's bullish. The 21 crosses the 8, it's bearish. And the 200 is a great support to have, even though a lot of stocks, are way above their 200 moving average. And then again, with the contracts, you always should have time. I cannot buy weeklies unless you're unless you're scalping. For me as a swinger, at least 45 days for me to swing, or let's say 15, 20, but it depends on the chart. Actually, last thing actually, when we go to trade and we look at the contracts, as far as the open interest, now obviously there's a lot of open interest in AMD, but let's say for any other stock, you want to look at a contract that has at least 200 open interest. Anything below that, you shouldn't even bother looking at. Okay, so have 200 open interest on that contract. So high delta, 200 or more open interest. The more time, the better. Any questions, Elkin? Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the clusters now. Hopefully,
Okay.
I can share my screen now.
Okay.
Also, you guys should look at your spreads too between the bid and the ask, because
Yep. Mm-hmm.
you see key on screen, you have a bid and an ask. That one is not big because your contract is gonna go not your way.
Mm-hmm.
You should always
Hey,
have it about 10,
can you go
$20
back to the
spread.
chart real quick?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So you picked the 8, the 21, and the
Mm-hmm.
200 for moving averages.
Mm-hmm.
So the 8, it looks like you picked it more because it kind of just rides a more consistent line
Yep.
here.
Mm-hmm.
What made you choose? I know the 200 is just kind of an industry standard either way,
Mm-hmm.
but what made you choose the 21?
The 21 is actually an indicator that a lot of traders use. Now, this was based, honestly, you know, when I was studying these charts, it was this time frame where it fit my trading style. And I'm using exponential moving average. Now, there's simple moving average, but that is more of a lagger, right? The exponential is a much faster indicator. It's more up to date. But the 21 for me, the time frame worked more of the times. I used to do, I think, a 10, 14, 8, and 15, I think. And those, when I was charting, when I was swinging, there was something that just did not work for me. But the 8 and the 21 is the most common that traders use. And when I was studying, how to swing trade with these moving averages, and when I started practicing, these were the time frames that worked most for me.
And you don't use the simple moving averages at all?
No, I use exponential.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm glad you pointed that out because I
Yep.
didn't see that at first.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exponential.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah, you always expect a big move much higher when that 8 crosses the 21. That's what you're really waiting to see.
And you don't turn on breakout signals, it looks like.
No. I think those are lagging too. Those are lagging indicators. It could work, but I think it's not something that you should completely rely on, because I feel like if everyone had that indicator, it would be very easy to buy here and then sell here. So and especially with this volatile of a market, anything can happen overnight. But yeah, that's a good question though.
Okay.
Elkin, do you want me? You want to share your screen?
Yeah, let's finish this.
Okay, sure.
What I was trying to do before.
Yep. Let me know when your stream is
Share
on.
my screen here. It's on. Should be on now.
Yep. Give 1 second. Can you guys see Elkin's screen? I can't see it.
Let's do it again.
It's super blurry.
Yeah,
Stop streaming. Why don't
wait,
you
let
stop
me.
sharing?
Yep. Let me. There we go.
All right. Okay, so time frames. What I suggest is that you guys rate your levels using the 20 days 1 hour and 10 days 30 minutes. Sometimes, like Fastly right now, you see how high is this? You might have to go to other time frames, like here 180 days and 4 hours, to see other resistances. So you guys see here, there's one at 103, there's more here. So sometimes you have to go shorter, especially when you go in the 1 hour and you see all green. Like I don't see any resistance here besides this level that doesn't really mean too much. It's only been tested once and broke. So sometimes you can do, this is for faster trades, okay? You do 5 days, 15 minutes, and you're like, well, there's one here, there's another one here. In this case, we're looking more for resistance. We want to look at above the price. There's no point to look at resistance below. That's where you look for support. But sometimes, like all resistance becomes new support, and this one just drove a little bit low, so you can change it. So you break your levels by using visuals and the retracements in the APPs. APP confirms, you can turn it into a blue. What else? Okay, so yeah, you do even 5 days, 5 minutes sometimes work. Like here, you can see a new support. You just gotta make maybe a note on yourself and be like, this is something that I broke in the 5 minutes, so it's not that reliable. I like this one better. You see here, that's a good support. Rejected, rejected here. All this. I bet if we go on the 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay, so 15 minutes. We got also a few times here, here, here. So now we go back to the hourly, because I trade on the 5 day, 5 minutes when I'm scalping. If I'm trying to do, for example, GE, let's do GE since we're on that trade. So you see, this is my profit taking for some contracts on GE. It's gonna be 11.32 at some point. So I'm gonna sell probably my third contract if it goes our way at this point, because I don't have anything. This is a 4-hour chart. Even if I put it 3 years, I mean, I can see something, but that's all. This is all stuff. So there's a resistance in between here, between the 100 at 11.75. What else? This one, I think we already passed it. Yeah, this was 10.78. That was our entry. We entered this at 10.78. I don't want to draw it here. There's another resistance here. So let's see if we can get a cluster. So what happens in this trade? Ideally, I want to take some profits at 11.32. Then I'm going to have to retest at 11.75. And if it breaks above, I can either take profits here or wait for it to break above and then have 12.17 as our next price. And let's do this here. Let's try to see if we get a cluster. So a cluster is just going to give you more confirmation on that level, more confidence. Doesn't mean it's going to hit it, but it's better than having nothing. So if I go from this low to this high to this low, look at that, almost perfect. So now I got more confirmation here. So it doesn't mean it's going to resist. It doesn't mean it's going to confirm, but at least I have something to look. It's better than have nothing at all. See if we do another one here and here. This one is not going to close. It's also a very short one. What else do I see here? Let's see here. Maybe I get this low. That's a 862. I try this high. the 100%. This one wouldn't work in the past, as here, as you see, we stop here. So I wouldn't keep it. I would just take it out since we're already past that level. And to break supports, I don't have to do that. What I can do, if I want to see if I can get another cluster, I go to the regular Fibonacci tool, the one that you use 2 points. And since I want to see resistance, I go from high to low. And we got another 161.8 here. So I go edit property, retracements. I don't want to keep any of these retracements because I don't retrace the price. And it looks something like that. And I would only keep the 168. I honestly wouldn't care too much about the 121. It could work. I'm gonna take my chances here. So I'll take this one out. And actually, let's keep this to see something at the end. So you guys see this? Now I have this cluster here, which probably for me is going, I can't guarantee if it's going to hold, but I would definitely keep it in mind. So somewhere between the 1132 and the 1135. This could be a profit-taking idea since we have nothing else to do. And what I want to see is on the 184 hours. That's so actually we got another cluster here. This is great. It's actually a good example that we take. So we got the APP, we got our resistance, and we got the 261.9 extension. So we also know that we're gonna probably find resistance at this level between 1173, 1176. We got already a resistance from the past. We got the 168.8 that looks pretty reliable here, and we got another 261.9 extension from another one that looks reliable. So when you're swinging something and you have no idea when to take profits, and you got time in the contract, I mean, we got until March for this. So I hope we can at least see one of these prices. I mean, we don't have to wait until March, but as far as I see, it doesn't look bad. I think we're like 13%, but it's only a $60 contract. So yeah, that's some ideas on how to set your PT levels. Also, you can do the same for a stop loss. You can do it, or if you're in puts, you do the same concept for puts. You just gotta go high, low, and high instead of low, high, and low. So yeah, we review the time frames here. Let's switch again to the 1 hour. In this case, I use 1 hour and 4 hours since we got until March. I also have a 30 days to hour. That one is pretty similar. Yeah, and if you're trying to figure out stop loss, I would just do some support here. Some support here. So since we have until March, I think we can afford this to go to 998, maybe 950. And if you want to see more confirmation, you can do this. You grab a low and a high. And this one I don't like, so we can do low here maybe, and a high. You see we get a 50%. This is gonna be a retracement because it's retracing the price. Everything under one is a retracement. So I take all this out and I just keep the one that I care for. So you can be like, you know what? Maybe after this, maybe if we break this level, I'm gonna cut my loss. Taking profits here, cutting loss here. And we entry here. We enter about this line here. That was our entry. Actually, it was more like 1070 something. It's pretty close though. You can also go the other way. If you want to do the APPs for support, you can go high, low, and high, that one doesn't work too good for me, so I need to. And you're just gonna get this with practice. Eventually, your eyes are gonna. It's gonna make sense. It didn't take 1 day to me; it took a lot of days. But sometimes you can even use them. Sometimes you just gotta pass on them. Like for example, right now I honestly having a little issues to draw support, so a high, a low, and a high. We know this one is not going to work. I think I already tried that one. Yeah, I will already try that one. So high, low, high, maybe here. So this high, this low, and this high. So you see, if you another cluster here, we can keep in 100% actually hold in here. It's the same level, so it's still valid, 1022 support. So this is what you can do. You can be like, you know what? After below 994 would be my last confirmation for a cut. I would cut my contract here. And we got a nice cluster here. So since we have until March, anything between these levels is gonna be your safety zone. You don't cut loss, you don't take profit, you just let it go. So yeah, I think that's, if you guys want to see my time frames here to play with them, I can screenshot. It's all going to depend on your trade. Like, you know, to break the levels for weekly contracts, I highly suggest you to use the 1 hour, 20 days, and the 30 minutes and 10 days, and then trade them with the 5 days and 5 minutes. I think that's all I got. If you guys have any questions, please ask.
Anyone have any questions on
What did I
anything?
say?
Yeah.
Also, ignore the 1 day, 1 minute. I don't even know what I have there. So don't use 1 day, 1 minute. I have the 1 day, 1 minute when it's moving super fast, and I just want to see something quick, but I don't use it as a trade. I just want something to see it quick. And also, when you get into scalps and it's not going your way, you can switch to the 5 days and 5 minutes. Or if it's moving super slow, you can switch to the 5 day, 50 minutes.
Hey, on the 3 points that you were talking about earlier for the APP,
Yeah.
you were saying it's low to high to low is going to be your resistance level. High to low
resistance, yeah. High to low to
high
high.
to low to high is support.
Yes, and that's also
Okay.
on the presentation.
Okay, cool.
Good question.
Is this something that just took you kind of a little bit of time practicing to kind of get these
It
line
takes
up a little bit
practice,
better?
especially because, yeah, it took me practice. I'm not gonna lie to you. It did take me some time. It took me some time to do it. And because it's hard sometimes that, you know, you see way too extended and you choose the right low, the right high, and the right low, but then you see it goes like 20 points where you want, and it's like, what am I gonna do with this? Maybe in 1 year it's gonna work. But as you get, it's practice. Like, I have no words to describe how I, like, it makes sense to me. That's what I can tell you. Like, you know, I don't have to grab the lowest low, the highest high, and another low. I know which ones are going to work with me. Also, keep in mind your symmetric from point A and B distance is gonna be the same distance from point C and the 1.0. So that's your key. That's how you're gonna get them to work. But
And
yeah,
then some of this is you just having experience and you know that
just
you
doing it
look
every
at
day.
something and it just doesn't look right, so you know that you need to redo
Tell
the
me a
line.
stock that I haven't watched in a while. Anything. Let's do Jinko Solar. So to be honest with you, I would do something like, I wouldn't. So this one is actually a good example because it's a little complicated, so I'm challenging myself here. So I would do maybe a longer time frame or even a shorter time frame. Let's see something else. Okay. So I don't want it from here. This is what it doesn't make sense. If I do it from 13.5 to 90, then to this low, I'm gonna have something probably at like 120, 150, like crazy. So maybe I'll do, because we have this low, so we have this support. So we gotta make sure that we use this here. So let's do 1 hour again. Let's try this. Okay, let's try this low here. Let's try this here. So I think the other one's fair. And we can even do, let's even do, what else? Yeah, because this drop here is not as good. What is a stock that is been pumping? Something that has been going high that is not an IPO.
Roku?
Roku, yeah. Yeah, because you want to use it for stocks like that that keep coming up. Nice entry for cost here, right? Yeah, I don't need you anymore. Maybe next year. All right, so this one looks better for me. So I can, because you see how this is a better example because it's extended. I don't want to see it at this low here because it's not going to work as well. So I can get this low. I can get this high maybe, and that one might be a little too extended. So I'm gonna probably have to redo it. Yeah, you see? So it takes practice. I get another high here, I get another low, get this high, maybe this low. You see? Well, this makes more sense now, right? And now I can trust whenever Roku is at 320.94, I have something there to rely on. Which one? Let's try this low, this high, and this low. So that 313.42 could be a possible resistance. Also try this one here, this one, and here. So any of these ones, I would keep them in mind. And they have a little nice gap, so it's a 3-point gap, about 1% gap, which is between each other here, 307.63, 310.81, 313.42. And I obviously would wait for them to confirm. It's not gonna be like, okay, yeah, this is resistance for sure. I like to wait and see. Because in this example here, the 1.0, this one confirmed. But we also don't need an APP because we already see it here. Yeah, it takes time. Just practice as almost everything. Hello?
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right.
No more questions? Everyone's a master now?
I have a question for Keon.
Please.
So when you were looking at the Walmart chart, how come you chose the exponential moving average compared to the normal one?
So the exponential it's not lagging. The simple moving average is a lagging indicator, so it doesn't react on the chart as fast as the exponential. That is why I always use exponential over the simple moving average.
Okay, so it's kind of like how on a TD Ameritrade, unless if you don't change like the time for it, it's delayed.
Yep.
It's kind of like the same thing with it.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just make sure you are on the exponential and not. You want to see EMA, no SMA.
So, I mean, basically, the SMA is like the average of the data of the price, okay? And EMA is like the current, more weight. It focuses a lot more weight on the current data, okay? So it's like the SMA is just the average of the price data. The EMA gives a lot more weight to the current price data. Because another example is that simple moving averages are, based on the closing prices, and exponential moving average is focusing more on the recent prices. There's actually a formula I can send you guys on how to calculate it, but it's like basically meaningless. That's a good question, though.
As far as the volume that you had set up on your charts, did you say that there is a way to import that into Thinkorswim?
There is, yeah. So did you guys get the link? It's okay. So I posted the link at 5:30. It's right above there. Once you click that link and your Thinkorswim application is open, it should pop up right away, and then you just click add. Let me know if you're having trouble doing that, because I know there's another way.
I'll look at it. I've
Okay.
just I haven't added any of the studies that way.
Let me
That doesn't mean I can probably figure it out.
No, yeah, I mean it's okay. Let me post it one more time. It's actually, and then what you can do always is the pinned messages up above where it says premium owl chat, and you see that pin icon. All the messages that we've pinned it's saved there. But here I can post it again in the chat. So what you would do, you would just click that link and it should just pop up. Well, actually, it will take you to the TOS website. Then you have to click the link from the website, and then transfers right to your Thinkorswim.
So view in Thinkorswim.
Exactly.
Error occurred. Please contact tech support.
No way.
That's all right.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
Okay, sounds good. Let me make sure that's like the right link too. Should be the link. Any more questions? You guys good? Questions, concerns, or any question? Doesn't even have to be about tonight's lesson. It could be about anything. Sounds like we're good. All right. Well, thanks for joining. And
thanks for the session.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. I think next week we're gonna focus on, the Greeks.
I see you in 1 month when everybody's asking about AVPs again.
Probably.
Nah, it's okay. Yes, I'm getting better at clusters and still reading the book, and I also have something for breakout patterns for you guys. So I've been studying that on my books, but I don't want to throw it out there if I'm not good enough. So I've been working on that.
Yeah.
So we can probably do like review some patterns like head and shoulders, ascending triangles, flags.
Yeah.
After that,
I'll have some questions on this down the road, but until I've had a little bit of time to practice, I really don't know where I would
No,
start
yeah,
to ask.
and we're every day. Like we see each other every day on here, so there's actually no
Sweet. And
no
then
rush.
classes will be actually on YouTube right away. This time I made it work. Thanks to sponsored by OBS Studio. All right. Well,
All right, thanks, guys.
yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night.
All
We'll
right,
see you bright and early tomorrow.
See you guys.
See ya.
sounds good.